Hello and welcome to the latest in Do More with Less Real Stories. Of course, this is our bite-sized format of the big Do More with Less podcasts we do on a monthly basis. We're twinning those big monthly interviews with chats with marketing leaders that we know and love, shorter, punchier sessions that highlight the on-the-ground stories of individuals fighting to work out how to do more with less. And today I'm very, very excited. This is a guest I've worked with now for about a year. Graham Smith, hello, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Mark, and thanks for the invite.
Graham has over 20 years as the most senior marketing person in any business he's worked in. Now, recently, he was the marketing director at Ebster, a real game changer in the sales market. Ebster was successfully acquired by Fullcast, a sales performance planning and execution platform that's on heavy acquisition trail right now. And as a result of that, Graham's just finished his, I think you're 4 days into your new life and you're figuring out what to do next with opportunities already on the horizon. But what I really want to talk about, Graham, and by the way, congratulations on everything you did at Ebster. I think 25 years in, you've done huge amounts of growth for a number of different companies. You've seen everything there is to see over the last 20 years as, you know, top marketer. What's the world looking like 4 days into big decision time?
But I'm at a crossroads of deciding, do I go perm somewhere, probably still staying in tech or SaaS, or do I go with this fractional route? And part of the appeal for going fractional is this idea of working with small startups who are bootstrapped and who maybe could use the experience that I have, but perhaps don't have the budget currently to be able to afford someone like me full time. I really enjoy working with small startups and bootstrapped organizations in general, because I often feel that it's very easy to come up with amazing marketing when you've got 5 million sitting in the marketing budget. It's a lot more difficult to do it when the budget is £5,000 per month. And I think that really sorts out the men from the boys, so to speak, if you're able to actually do something.
You were always, ever since we worked together, you were always really sensitive to that. You were very, very sharp on, listen, this is how much we have and this is how far we think we can take it. And, you know, you're right, it's a cultural necessity right now, which is why we run this Do More with Less podcast series. But you're also, it's a real skill set. It's a real skill set. I've seen marketers come into CMO roles from really large companies to startups where they feel it's going to be like that kind of, they want that sort of rather sexy sheen that comes from being at a very fast growth, small bootstrap tech startup. And they come with huge amounts of experience, but not necessarily the right experience. And when they are suddenly faced with the fact that there isn't a resource, there isn't a stationary cupboard, there isn't teams of people waiting to do their bidding, it's quite a hard landing for them. I know of I know of at least one company that I'm quite close to, which hired a CRO from one of the biggest companies in the world in his CV, and he in turn hired a chief marketing officer and a sales director and a client person. And 6 months in, they're all doing brilliantly, and he's had to leave the business. And when I asked what the thinking was behind, one person from within the business said, look, this isn't official, this is just my opinion, but I think it's idle hands. I think we're all quite scrappy, even as with chief in our title, we're all willing to lean in, get our hands dirty, do the day-to-day, whereas this person comes with a background that says, I've got armies of people doing it for me. And right now we're a team of 50 or 60. We haven't really got that luxury.
And I think that you're quite right. There is a cultural shift. you do have to roll up your sleeves. You do have to be prepared to be the person that when you walk into the kitchen and there's no milk, that you're the one that has to go out and buy the milk to make tea. But I also think that a lot of people, when they join startups and they see posts on LinkedIn about how, if you follow this process, you'll be able to achieve 500% more with 200% less. And when you are the only person, perhaps, in the marketing department, that just feels so daunting. And it's just not consumable. So at Ebster, what I did was to actually do the same with less. That was the starting point. Rather than trying to do everything all at once, which when you haven't got the resources is bound to fail, just try and do the same with less. And so what happened was we cut the pipeline team by 50%. And then by using redefined processes, i.e. focusing much more sharply on ICP, because we were pretty much reaching out to or having conversations with anyone that wanted to talk to us. And so I worked very closely with the sales team, and we redefined the ICP. And then having done that, then we moved on to the next stage, which was to try and do more. We've cut the team by 50%, the pipeline team, and now we're at the stage of doing more. And over a 6-month period, we were actually able to increase pipeline by 233%, just by being smarter about where we actually spent our money and where we allocated our resources. And I think that that's a mistake that a lot of people make. They read these LinkedIn articles and say that, within 90 days you can achieve these ridiculous figures. Well, we all know that there's quite a lot of nonsense sometimes talked about on LinkedIn. So just try and make it consumable. Do the same with less and then move to the next stage.
You think there's nonsense on LinkedIn?
I'm afraid so. And some of it might even come from me.
Sorry to interrupt this podcast. I'm sure I'm jumping in at a totally inopportune moment. Just to say that Do More With Less is brought to you by OrbitalX, the marketing resource group. That's it. That's all I wanted. Back to the podcast. Yeah, listen, I've got a thought, right? You must have spent a good portion of your career understanding how to work with marketing teams and lead marketing teams. But when I knew you at work, you were in that situation where you were very senior in the business. So you sat in meetings with chairmen and CEOs and, at that level, but you were really the only marketer in the business for quite a long time. What's that? How did you learn to shrivel the marketing output and capability and, still understand how to make marketing a force within the business? Like, you must, I get that there's the metrics and that if you sort of take it step by step and that you can have those conversations about what's going to get done. So I'll do the same with less. But for you, in your mind, how did you rationalize to yourself, hang on, there's only me all of a sudden. I've learnt to do marketing in a certain way. Now it's just, and by the way, you know as well as I do that the one-person marketing teams are now, it's pretty much how things work for a lot of businesses. How did you figure that learning stage out?
So I'm very fortunate in that I've been working as the only person in the marketing team for quite a while. So I have almost a team, if you like, of freelancers that I'm able to call upon. And the beauty of using freelancers is that, they're not on the payroll. You can stop using them as and when you need and then switch them back on as and when you need. So I think that it is important that when you're in that role that you align yourself with freelancers and agencies that have the expertise and the resources to be able to help you hit target. Obviously, OrbitalX were on my list. And that's the other thing. I think that there's a definite advantage in reaching out to experts within a particular channel. So if you find a company that is expert in webinars, they're more likely to teach you things that you didn't know. And we had a very good, I had a very good relationship with a company that dealt with our podcasts. But in relation to OrbitalX, what we did with you guys was we bounced ideas off of each other. And I remember that one of the things that we did together was this 15-minute webinar. Now, that came about from a conversation with OrbitalX around people don't have time anymore to consume long-form content. They're not even prepared to read 700-word blog articles anymore. So we came up with this idea, didn't we, of a 15-minute webinar. And what we saw from that was that whereas the take-up or the registration maybe wasn't as great as with the long-form webinars, what I noticed, and this was really interesting, and I do want to repeat the exercise, what I noticed was that post-webinar, there was an awful lot more people posting about the content. They were quoting some of the figures that we delivered in that webinar. And so what that taught me was that the 15-minute webinar was far more consumable. People actually watched the entire 15 minutes, learned something from it, and decided to post. But that if I was sitting in the office on my own, having conversations with myself, that idea would never have come about. It's only from working with outside agencies and outside freelancers that that sort of thing comes about. So although you are the only person in the marketing department, that doesn't always necessarily mean that you're working alone.
And it's crucial to get sort of extra people in heads to bounce ideas off, I guess.
That's how you become much more creative with this limited budget.
Yeah.
Is by talking to people about, okay, well, how can I squeeze more out of this? Or is there a different way for us to use this particular channel? And so, for example, when we were working with the podcast company, we had traditionally, again, made the mistake of just having guests on who wanted to be on rather than thinking, okay, ICP, what is our ideal guest? And we very quickly moved from just inviting people that were potential clients to then also considering, hold on, we need to also invite our existing clients because that potentially could lead to a video testimonial. And then we also need to think about reach. Well, how about we start inviting guests who have over 50,000 followers on LinkedIn? Because if we do a podcast with them and we give them the snippet, they're bound to post it on their LinkedIn feed, et cetera, et cetera. Again, it's about trying to, and again, that conversation or that idea came about from a conversation with the podcast agency. Squeezing more sometimes comes out of what can be just a very casual conversation with an outside agency or resource.
Graham, you're in a position that lots of my colleagues, contacts, and friends are in, where you're now looking for your next job. And what I hear is that the market's not necessarily the softest at the moment. It's pretty tough out there. I'm really, really delighted to hear that, and well, not surprised, but delighted to hear that you've got a couple of opportunities already that you're looking at. But before we turned on the record button, you said that you were considering whether you might think about being a fractional CMO. It fits with your ethos of being able to help those bootstrap companies that perhaps can't afford a you or a me full time. It fits with a cultural need to do more with less and to spend less on marketing, which is the reason that we created this series in the first place. But I also told you I was going to ask some fairly tough questions about the idea of being a fractional, because we used to call ourselves freelancers and we used to call ourselves consultants. And then this word fractional came over from the States about 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, and became sort of the all singing, all dancing solution to all of those challenges. And I appreciate that many companies feel that they are doing the right thing by getting in a fractional to get that level of experience and knowledge and calm and strategic nous that they couldn't otherwise afford. I want to know from you, and obviously it's on your mind right now, do and can fractional CMOs actually work?
Well, I don't think at a CMO level they can. But the way that I'm going to position myself is as a marketing director. I think that for you to perform as a genuine CMO, you do need to be there 5 days a week. I don't think as a CMO it would work, but as a marketing director or whatever senior title you want to come up with, VP of marketing, someone like a stage below or a level below the CMO, I think that is where it can work for a startup. I think
is that like execution versus, is that because you're more likely to be open to getting stuck in, getting your hands dirty in execution?
Exactly right. I think that, you're going to have to, because you will be the only person in the marketing department and budgets are going to be constrained. But also, if you're the CMO, then you're not just dealing with marketing, you're also dealing with the sales function as well. And for me, I just think that I think that there was a poll that, Guy Rubin, the founder of Epster, he ran a poll on LinkedIn and asked the question, CMOs currently have a 15-month lifespan. It used to be 18 months. It's now dropped to 15 months. And he asked why. Is it because they can't do the job, or is it because the company isn't ready for a CMO? And 75% of executives said it's because the company isn't ready for a CMO. If you are a startup, you shouldn't be in my opinion, you shouldn't be appointing a CMO. You should have a sales director and separately a marketing director. Sales director, I would argue, full-time, 5 days a week. Marketing director, I feel, could probably do 3 days a week and maybe in an ideal world 4. But that is probably the ideal mix. And then what you're getting is someone that can devote the 3 days a week to being great at marketing. The idea is that you can be great at sales and marketing for 3 days a week. I just don't think works. Too many companies are appointing CROs, because they're just that they feel they see these terms being bandied around on LinkedIn and think that they've got to jump on that bandwagon. It's a big mistake. So I don't think that CMOs can be used fractionally.
I think the same. I think that if you are only in the business for 2 or 3 days a week, trying to be a CMO is really, really tough, especially when you consider that a CMO's job is not just to look down and build the right marketing function. It's also to look up and to be reporting to the board. And so, okay, but that's become that's now again a very, very, it's not like marketing consultants are new, but the fractional thing has really, really taken off, and many companies are seeing it as the answer to the do more with less conundrum. I'm just interested to find out whether over the long term it has the right kind of effects.
I think for certain companies it's the right path. If you are a scale up or a startup, I think that fractional could work for you, but there would always be exceptions. And I think that maybe for some companies, if they have an existing marketing team maybe one or two people, a marketing manager and a marketing exec. Then something like a marketing director or VP of marketing could come in 1 or 2 days a week to deal with the strategic stuff. But there'll be other companies where they literally don't have any marketing staff at all. And for those companies, probably a VP of marketing but again, the VP of marketing or marketing director has to be prepared in that sort of situation to get their hands dirty and to be prepared to write a blog article, edit a video, organize a webinar, etc., etc. I think that, it really does depend on the organization themselves. But yeah, I still think that CMO on a fractional basis just doesn't work.
Graham, final question. I'd like you to try and give a really impassioned pitch to the market that is currently hiring both for you and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of others like you. What I'm thinking about is that many people are being let go. Of those people, many of us are at the sort of tail end of a senior career. And I think the assumption is that if you are looking in the SaaS world, in the tech world, with all that rich, delicious experience that you have, I think there's a scary assumption in some parts that age is going to be a factor, and that actually, we have tools, we have AI, we have youngsters coming in and wanting to make a name for themselves. We can do this cheaply. What I would like you to do is give your elevator pitch, if you like, for the need to still imbue genuine lived war experience. What is it that we sell at this end of the career when young owners and freshly funded owners are looking at trying to build everything on the cheap without that level of experience?
So obviously I'm applying marketing to how I find my next role, and I am being very focused on my ICP, my ideal next job. And I think one of the mistakes that people make is that they panic a little bit and start investing their time in searching or interviewing for roles that they don't really want. I know from years of experience in marketing that the best thing you can say when it comes to bringing new customers on board is to actually say no. If they're not right for you, just say no. Stop wasting your time chasing the impossible. So that's the first thing, is advice to anyone at the tail end of their career is be focused on what is your ideal role. And then secondly, I think to anyone that is hiring, I think what senior marketers bring is the ability to be able to drown out some of the noise around what is currently trendy or trending. I've seen so often people wax lyrical about the next marketing technology or app that's being launched. And I think senior marketers, having been there, done it, got the T-shirt, realize that sometimes all of that is just hot air and hype. The reality is that your audience, the buyer, doesn't actually care what technology you're using, doesn't care that you're using HubSpot or Clay. What they care about is the message. That is what wins them over. And a senior marketer is far more likely to be able to clarify that. Whereas potentially someone that is new to marketing, they want to learn all of these new tools. And so they'll persuade the CEO that, this one is being talked about on LinkedIn. I keep talking about LinkedIn. This one is being referred to on LinkedIn or in blog articles or whatever it might be. We need this. whereas a senior guy will probably be going, no, let's focus, given my experience, let's focus on the things that are actually going to move the needle. I'll give you a practical example. Pretty much every company that I've ever joined, one of the things that the senior executives ask me is, okay, day one, when are you going to change the website? I'm not changing the website until at least like 3, 4, maybe even 6 months down the road. The first thing I'm going to look at is your CRM, because I cannot do smart marketing with dumb data. But that's just not very sexy, is it? The new marketing guru arrives and says he's going to start looking at the CRM. But years of experience tells me that's where I need to concentrate my energy, because I have never worked at any company where their CRM was in good shape. And then they wonder why people aren't responding to their emails. Well, it's because you don't know their job title and you're sending them irrelevant messages. That's why. So I'll deal with the website as and when I've sorted out all of this other stuff. And that comes with experience. So, yeah. And the beauty of it is that with Fractional, you can hire that experience for 3 days a week.
If I was you, Graham, I would be very, very tempted to make that CRM website comparison as your next LinkedIn post. I absolutely agree. Graham, not just because I want to wish you, I'm delighted to be able to talk to you and publicly wish you luck. I expect to see some huge activity soon. I can't wait to see where you land, how you land. And it's been a pleasure working with you as well as talking with you today. So in the meantime, thank you for today. And give me a shout when you are settled. Let's have that coffee.
Oh, don't worry. OrbitalX is going to be one of the first people I call once I land.
Amazing. Take good care, Graham.
Thanks very much.